Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the Losing Your Parents International Radio Show. My name is Lisa A. Snyder. I lost both of my parents to cancer at 22 and 27. I work to inspire others on my blog, losingyourparents.org, and journey through my own grief experience using creativity and self-expression. My intention is always to connect those of us who have lost our mothers, our fathers, or both parents at any age through the arts, life experiments, looking inward, and turning pain into something positive. So let's talk about stuff that's hard and ways that you can move forward in your life and how to get back to a happier place. I am currently broadcasting live from Portland, Oregon. If you have a question, please post it on Twitter at Losing Parents, or on Facebook, search for Losing Your Parents, or visit losingyourparents.org and click on the Facebook button. In Losing Your Parents news, I had the honor of being interviewed by Stephanie Fleitas of creatingwithin.com. It was a really awesome interview. Stephanie contacted me and wanted to have a candid conversation about, losing parents and abandonment and related topics, and we talked about everything, and I was very excited to have this conversation with Stephanie. It was very positive, and she was very curious, and I thought that was very beautiful. And so I highly recommend you checking out her website, creatingwithin.com, and the candid conversation that we had together is on her website under the menu of Candid Conversation. I will also be posted on my website, losingyourparents.org, and you can check that out. Also, I just want to say one other thing about Stephanie and her website. Her intention is actually to communicate, connect, and create, which is very much in alignment with the things I'm doing with Losing Your Parents. Her goal, in my opinion, and what I've learned about her, is to really to look within yourself for the answers to some of the things that are going on in the world. And she talks to and interviews other people who are sort of in alignment with that. And I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that we get the clearest answers from inside. Sometimes it gets cloudy and the world gets a little weird, and we have the answers, we just don't look for them. So one of the things that I do is I try to access them myself and then share with others how I got access to that information. So again, check out our website, creatingwithin.com, and click on Candid Conversations, and you'll find the interview with me and then many other people that are out there in the world doing amazing things and finding their inner voice with other people. So let's see. I'm just checking out the Facebook page and checking out Twitter, seeing if anybody has anything to say. If you do have anything to say or any questions or anything you want to put out there, I don't necessarily, I won't use your name if you don't want me to. But feel free to post on facebook.com/losingyourparents or twitter.com/losingparents. If you have questions for me, or you just want to say hello, or anything, you want to express yourself, let me know. So, in other Losing Your Parents news, the show is officially on iTunes, which is very exciting for me. Trying to figure out, so it's only posting a couple of episodes, and so I'm trying to connect those dots. I also have uploaded all of the shows so far on YouTube, and they're also available on SoundCloud. So those are all exciting things, trying to get it out there and trying to get the message out there. If you know somebody who has lost a parent or you yourself are going through losing a parent now, or you've already lost a parent, or both parents, please check out the blog. And there's a lot of resources there, and listen to the shows that have happened so far. I'm going to continue the conversations around 1,000 topics, and so I'm going to cover a lot of ground. Last week I talked about birthdays because it was my birthday, my 33rd birthday. Today I'm going to be continuing the conversation around birthdays and just talking out loud about them. And again, if you have anything to say about birthdays or anything you want to share, please reach out on Facebook or on Twitter. So one of my goals at 33 is to be totally honest with myself. And then from that point, I can take charge of other things in my life. One of the things that's really become more and more important to me is inner peace. And, what does that mean? For me, that means not being upset all the time. Or if I'm feeling upset, trying to work through it as quickly as possible, getting to the root so I can move forward. Like, we're here in life, for 1,000 reasons. One of the reasons I think is to love and to be loved and to have a human experience. And one of the parts of the human experience is feelings. And I think that is one of the most challenging things because nobody really teaches us how to have healthy feelings, how to move through things that are difficult, how to share feelings. Like nobody but our parents and the people around us really teach us how to do that. And I really feel very strongly like there should be a class, kind of like health class, but like dealing with emotions, because it becomes everything you are in your whole life. I mean, your whole life you're having feelings, you're experiencing them. Sometimes you're sharing them, but mostly not with anybody. And I think that is a travesty, and I want to be a part of the change that inside myself and for other people, where you can make a shift to being more expressive in a way that's constructive. Some people are really expressive, but their focus is negative and lack. And, the world in your own mind, if you think about it, like you're kind of like the director of your own life movie. And I heard a piece of information many years ago that we receive like millions of pieces of information, but the brain can only like receive like maybe 1,000 at a time or something. That's still a lot of pieces of information. But that they get filtered through life experiences, the way that you look at the world, and then you receive information. So like, for example, if I was standing in a room full of 10 people and I threw, I threw my keys on the floor, something very simple. I have my own reasons for throwing my keys on the floor, and then there's 9 other people who have the experience of being witness to me throwing my keys on the floor and making up stories in their head about why, what they were feeling, what they were thinking, all those things. So we all have different perspectives, and that's something that's very important to keep in mind. That you have your perspective, I have mine. Hopefully I can communicate as broadly as possible, but all of the things I'm sharing with you are from my own perspective and my own way of living in this human body and experiencing feelings. And one of the reasons why it's so important to me to work through feelings is because I didn't grow up in a place that I felt like safe sharing, even though it was presented to me like that it's okay to share feelings. It just wasn't. It wasn't received. It wasn't encouraged. It was like all hidden away, and I didn't like that, and that was really painful. I would have loved to just been able to share like my feelings with my mom, my dad. That's actually a conversation I had with my mom before she passed away. Was like, actually before she was even sick. I was in my kitchen. I was living in Rutherford, New Jersey, and I just said to her, one of the things I've always wanted was just to be able to share my feelings with you, and it's been so difficult. And we kind of cried a little bit about it, and then she was like, oh, I wish I knew that sooner. And like, kind of weird. I think we think we're going to read our minds. And I definitely feel that way with teenagers. Like, you think that everyone should just know how you feel. So, going back to one of the one of my intentions is to just share my feelings, process them, hopefully help you to do the same with really difficult feelings and really lighthearted feelings. The difficult ones are on grief. This one in particular I'm talking about today is about birthdays. And birthdays have a lot of energy around them. They have a lot of memories. If you've celebrated them, some people I guess don't, and that's one's experience. But birthdays have always been a big deal in my life. I used to go to bed and feel butterflies the night before and get very excited about the day. And like, it's weird. You wake up and you're like, wow, today's the day I was born. Like, that is very intense feeling. You know, it suddenly feels like everything you do that day matters. And so, last week being my birthday, I woke up and I just tried to like be as relaxed as possible, but it's really hard because everything matters. Everything anybody says to you matters. Anything anybody writes to you matters. Anything anybody doesn't write to you matters. It's weird. I had a great birthday overall. Catherine had made me, and I love that. And throughout the morning, I got to answer Facebook messages, and then later that day I went out and I bought myself some new underwear, and that was very exciting to me. And I bought some hats for a party I was going to have on Saturday, and then at night a few friends got together, and it was really beautiful. My friend Callie, who's like my best friend here, she wrote a speech in her public speaking class, which was the first one that she's had, and she shared it with everybody, and everybody had like these little tiny glasses of seltzer to like really practice like the speech, and she delivered it on my birthday, and that was such a special gift, and I'll never forget that. Connected to the actual day is the party, and so I thought maybe by having a party one on a Saturday that maybe more people would come versus a Wednesday night, but also that would be a little bit de-energized, that I wouldn't like think of it that big of a deal. And I really put it out there, and I've done event planning before, so I kind of have a feeling about, how to communicate with people and tell them about it and then remind them. And, it's a little bit annoying sometimes to do that, but it was important to me that like I didn't, have a birthday party where nobody showed up, because that would suck really bad. And so I noticed inside myself that I felt fear. Like the night of my birthday, I was like, what if nobody comes out tonight for drinks? Like, and everyone wants to go home, like, what if nobody shows up for my party? What if, I had all these what if fears, and fear is a really loud talker. It really speaks very loudly, and you have to like just kind of listen to it like it's a little child, and you're like, that's nice, pat it on the head, and that's not always easy. I tried to do that as best I could. I had the best birthday party maybe that I've ever had. Like, we are in our house that we've purchased here in Portland, Oregon, and it's pretty big, and it's great for parties. It's very open. I got some beer and some pizza, and everybody that said that they were going to come and showed up. I was so incredibly happy. There was drunkenness, there was drunken singing, and there's some dancing, and and by the way, I had like a hats and wigs party, so you could like wear a funny hat or a wig, and that really made the spirit of my birthday like a little bit more lighthearted. My birthday is kind of around Halloween, and I like to incorporate a little bit of October, and I had these tiny pumpkins that I gave everybody, and like all of it was like very joyful. There was one moment that kind of felt haunting to me in this way that I was confused about. That someone that I had shared their birthday like the previous night before, and whose girlfriend mentioned that they were coming and had RSVP'd, never showed up, never communicated about like not coming directly to me. And I noticed that, and I even like texted them, hey, are you coming? And nothing. And so that was like a pain point for me, honestly. Like that was uncomfortable. I put a little bit of energy into someone not being there, and it was like a focal point. And so for the entire next day, I was like, not like consumed by the thought, but I was like, why didn't I come? You know? And it's actually an interesting thing. It's like when people don't show up to your birthday, what kind of energy that creates between you and that person or you and those people. And, you know, sometimes people can't come, and that's okay. But I think I'm learning that, like, you know, the kind of people I want in my life are people who respect me and respect my time in life. And that's one of the things that I'm continuing to learn is because my parents have died, I have no time for people who don't respect mine, like at all. People who try to either they're canceling all the time or they don't communicate at all and they don't care that I like put aside time, energy, whatever. That is, and it is not something that I desire in my life. And so anytime that kind of stuff happens, also people who like just kind of suck the energy out of you, that just like want something from you constantly without giving anything, like that also is something that I don't accept. And so as soon as I recognize it, and as soon as I recognize that it's not a changeable thing, I think everything is changeable if you want it to be and the other person wants it to be. But if the other person doesn't want it to be or they're not hearing you, I have to sort of like say goodbye to that or transition the relationship to something a little bit more casual or non-existent. So the energy around birthdays and who's there and who's not there, you know, is a really interesting one. And I also remember noticing that on my actual birthday, after my radio show last week, I was sad. I felt sadness, and I was like, oh God, like, why do I have to feel sad on my birthday? And I'm trying to control my feelings, and it's because I just was triggered, you know? Like, there are things like birthday triggers, like blowing out a candle make you think of your mom or dad and how that they were there all the times you're blowing out your candles and now they're not. Talking about them at all, I noticed that, like, you know, just being honest, like when I ignore the fact that I don't have parents, I'm not hurting. And sometimes when I think about it, I do hurt. I do think about, and especially on my birthday, you know, like my mom definitely gave me a call on my birthday and my dad, and they were very excited about the fact that I was, you know, that I was born. And so sometimes you may feel like you're seeking that kind of energy, like that kind of wanting to get acknowledgement that you matters. So when you start to feel that way on your birthday or around your birthday, you have to come back inside and be like, I matter. My existence matters. I don't need other people's approval of my existence to feel good about myself, and sort of have that as a mantra, you know, throughout the day. Do things to yourself that you're like, yeah, like this is what I want to do. Sometimes I've been listening to Cheryl Strayed's Wild. I'm in chapter 10 right now. And she mentions, you know, her mother's death is like a big turning point for her in her life. And, you know what, I forgot what I was going to say about her. I got all trapped in, like, for a moment, I got trapped in, I'm in chapter 10. I wonder where everybody else is in the movie, and I went in like a weird road in my mind. So, never mind. So, let me just check Facebook and Twitter, see if there's anybody that has anything to say so far. I think for the most part, a lot of people may be listening to this after the recording, and that's cool. That's totally okay. I'm noticing the numbers increasing after the initial show has been posted, and I really thank all of you for listening and for hearing what I have to say. I'm really curious about other people's birthdays, so if this has like inspired you in some way to share something with me, please feel free to write me losingyourparents.org, and you click on the contact button, and you can just share something with me. You don't have to, it doesn't have to go out there to the world. You just want to say, hey, I really what you said made a lot of sense to me, or I have a birthday story or anything. And if you do want me to share it, that's okay too. Let me know. So let's see how much time I have left here. Okay, I got 9 minutes left. So some of the things that you can do for yourself on your birthday are, focusing on what you do have and the people that have told you happy birthday, that have said I love you, that have given. You have to focus on that, because if you focus on who hasn't, you're going to feel lack, you're going to feel sadness, you're going to feel like that hole in your heart. Think about some of the accomplishments that you've had in your life and be excited that you're another year older. That's pretty cool. There's a lot of crazy stuff that happens in this world, and there's a lot of people that don't get past the age that you are. I think about my friend Asia, and I thought she died at 31, but someone told me a few weeks ago at a wedding that she was 29, and I'll have to do the math, I guess. A woman that I grew up with, I met her when I was 5 and she was 8, and we knew each other, until she died. We mostly stayed in contact up until the time she went to college, and then intermittently through written letters, actual letters. And when I found out that she was going on hospice, her mom had texted me. I don't know who else she texted, and I was on my way to a meeting, and I just kind of turned around on the Jersey Turnpike and drove straight down to South Jersey, and I hadn't seen Asia in years, and I walked in, and she was like, Lisa? And I was like, yeah, and I kind of felt like, oh my God, this is probably the worst time in the world to be coming to visit, but I felt very strongly like I needed to just see her, and it was confusing because I felt selfish about it. I felt like, do I want to see her because I want to see her and say goodbye, or because I feel like she needs a friend or whatever, and it was very chaotic and confusing, and I remember looking at her and being like, and I even said to her, if you ever want to talk about anything, talking about death and scare me, it excites me to be able to have the ability to talk about these things. So, and then she looked at me and she was like, that's not going to happen. And I was like, oh, like my heart dropped to my stomach. I'm like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation with my older friend who I'm going to be older than at some point. And I think about her sometimes because I feel lucky every day that I get to live and do something with my time and share information with people. And I think about her when I think about living life to the fullest, because she really tried to until the end. And I don't know how long I'm going to be here for, but I feel like I'm going to be an old lady, but I guess we'll see. You just never know what's going to happen in life, so you really have to live life to the fullest. Some cards that I've been sort of having on my desk here, I have these Power Thought cards by Louise L. Hay, which are really awesome and very positive things. I kind of, just little cards, little positive messages. These are the two that I have had on my desk that I'd like to read to you. This first one says, I am guided throughout this day in making the right choices. Divine intelligence continuously guides me in the realization of my goals. I am safe. So actually the idea of safety is one of the reasons why we feel so uncomfortable all the time, is because we just want to feel safe, and we're constantly feeling like whatever is happening isn't safe. So I would like you to think about and consider, what is it that makes you feel safe, and what is it that makes you feel uncomfortable? And those are two really, really, really big questions, because there's a lot of stuff in both categories. But it's one of the self-care techniques that I have, is being able to look inside and see, say to myself, what's safe? Sometimes just being in your bed is safe. Sitting down, putting your feet on the ground, taking a deep breath, having a conversation with somebody you love, that can hear you and support you. He's not going to judge you. Judging is the worst. People who judge other people are just judging themselves, and then everything else is like coming out. Like I cannot stand when other people are so judgmental of others, but then they're not like holding themselves up to the same standards of internal searching and going back to feeling safe. And then what makes you uncomfortable? Like sometimes people have social anxiety. What is about just being in public that's scary? What is it about having a conversation with somebody that's scary? Like, have some quiet time where you're walking out in nature, or you have your, some time to yourself in a corner somewhere, and you can write or even just think about some of these questions, because it will help you to start unraveling how can you feel even better in this world, and feeling safe. So what's one thing that I do that helps me feel safe? I think taking a step back, like if I'm feeling unsafe, whatever that I feel like that means in that moment, take a step back. And so what does taking a step back look like? Taking a step back looks like, for me, maybe walk out of the room and just kind of like walk outside. I noticed that actually makes me feel better. Just having a breath of fresh air if something feels energetically stuffy. Things to think about, and especially in regards to your birthday, what has made you feel comfortable in the past, and how has that changed? Something that made me feel comfortable in the past was my mom calling me on my birthday, and that's not going to happen anymore. But if you're open, and if I'm open, looking for other kinds of phone calls, not an actual physical phone call, but a message from the universe that she is wishing me a happy birthday. And I wish sometimes I would write like more of the signs that I see down, because I forget them really easily. There was a point where I felt like my parents were saying hello to me, and I remember feeling it, but I don't remember what it was, honestly. So yeah, think about what makes you feel safe, what rituals you've done in the past that maybe you want to turn around and do something different. Like, I feel like, unfortunately, I don't have my parents, but I guess I could do whatever I want, and I'm not going to have a parent being judgy about something, or I'm not going to have to. I've done my caring for them to the end, and so that's something I don't have to worry about in my adult life, is what am I going to do when my parents get old. Remember that you were loved and that you are loved, and remember to love yourself in this healing process, and that it's ongoing. There are no 5 stages of grief, in my opinion. I want to thank you for listening. If you would like to share anything with me by writing or calling, I have a phone number that you can leave a message at, an anonymous message. It's 626-671-LISA. And if you're outside of the country, it's 1-626. I encourage you, if you want to leave me a message, please do. You can also write me at losingyourparents.org. I want to thank you again for listening, and you've been listening to Losing Your Parents International Radio, and I want you to remember you got to heal. Thanks so much.